Listen to me. Some of you have been living your whole life thinking God's message was about making you comfortable, thinking it was about getting everything you wanted when you wanted it, but you've been misunderstanding his message your entire life. God's not in the business of spoiling you. He's in the business of growing you. You keep asking, why me? But God is saying, why not you? You're misunderstanding the struggle. You're misunderstanding the pain. You're misunderstanding the silence. Every single one of those moments was God speaking, but you were too focused on what you wanted to hear, not what you needed to hear. God's message isn't about making you happy. It's about making you ready. And until you shift how you hear him, you'll keep walking in circles, wondering why nothing is changing. You've been taught your whole life that if God is with you, life should be easy. That if you're really walking in his will, the doors will swing wide open, the road will be smooth, and everything you touch will turn to gold. But let me wake you up today. That is the biggest misunderstanding of God's message. His message was never about comfort. If comfort was the goal, he wouldn't need faith. If comfort was the goal, he wouldn't need trials. If comfort was the goal, there would be no reason for growth, no reason for perseverance, no reason for strength. You've been confusing comfort with calling, and that's why you've been frustrated. Think about it. Every warrior, every prophet, every chosen one in history had to suffer before they were strong enough to walk in purpose. David didn't go straight to the throne. He had to fight lions and bears first. Joseph didn't go straight to being ruler in Egypt. He had to be betrayed, enslaved, and imprisoned. Even Jesus himself didn't live a life of comfort. He walked through rejection, betrayal, hunger, pain, and ultimately the cross. If comfort was the measure of God's love, then why would the Son of God suffer the most? His life was proof that God's message is not about avoiding the storm. It's about standing strong in the middle of it. The problem with many of us is that we think hardship means God abandoned us. We think struggle means he's punishing us. But what if the very thing you're calling a curse is the exact thing God is using to prepare you? See, diamonds aren't made in comfort. They're made under pressure. Gold isn't purified by sitting on a shelf. It's purified by fire. And you, my friend, were never called to a soft, easy, painless existence. You were called to shine, to fight, to conquer. And that requires discomfort. Stop praying for an easy life. Stop begging God to remove every obstacle, every challenge, every trial. Because the truth is, without them, you wouldn't become who you were meant to be. That weight you're carrying right now, it's not there to crush you. It's there to build you. Those tears you cry in the midnight hour, they're not wasted. They're watering the soil for your breakthrough. That season of loneliness, that season of rejection, that season of why me? It's not proof of God's absence. It's proof of his preparation. God's message is clear. I never promised you easy. I promised you victory. And victory doesn't come without a battle. You want strength, but you don't want struggle. You want growth, but you don't want pain. You want wisdom, but you don't want to be tested. You can't have one without the other. If you keep chasing comfort, you'll never walk in calling. Comfort zones don't create leaders. Comfort zones don't create warriors. Comfort zones don't produce world changers. All they produce is average, and you weren't created to be average. Let me tell you something. Every time you choose comfort over calling, you're shrinking. You're missing the opportunity God is trying to use to stretch you. You keep asking God to bless you, but he already is through the storm, through the trial, through the pain. That blessing doesn't come in the form of comfort. It comes in the form of character. And once you shift your perspective, once you stop misunderstanding his message, you'll see that every single uncomfortable moment was actually a gift. So hear me today. God's message is not to keep you comfortable. It's to make you capable, not to make life easy, but to make you strong. If you can embrace that, if you can stop running from discomfort and start running into it, you will finally begin to see the greatness he's been preparing you for your whole life. You keep looking at your pain like it's proof God turned his back on you, but I need you to flip your perspective right now. That pain you feel, it's not punishment. It's not abandonment. That pain is evidence that God is still working in your life. The problem is you've been misreading it. You've been thinking pain means he's against you, when in reality, pain often means he's positioning you. You don't grow on the mountaintop. You grow in the valley. You don't grow when everything is easy. You grow when life hits you so hard, you have to fall to your knees. Pain is not the enemy. It's the process. Think about your own life for a moment. The times you prayed the hardest, the times you sought God the most. It wasn't when everything was going well, was it? It was when you were broken. It was when you had nothing left but him. That's when you discovered his presence was real. See, the enemy wants you to believe pain is proof God left you, but that's a lie. If anything, pain is proof he's closer than ever, because he knows without that fire, without that struggle, you'd never become the person he called you to be. Look at a seed. Before it can become a tree, it has to break. That shell has to split apart. And in that breaking, new life begins. That's exactly how God works with you. He allows the breaking, not because he enjoys your suffering, but because he knows new life is on the other side. The pain you feel right now is the cracking open of something greater inside you. It's not the end. It's the beginning. And I get it when you're in it. It feels unbearable. It feels like the pain is proof you're cursed. But the truth is that pain is sharpening you, molding you, teaching you. It's proof you're still in the fight. Dead things don't feel pain. Only the living do. The fact that you're hurting means you're still alive, still in the process, still being shaped into something better. You've got to stop running from it. Stop numbing it. Stop asking God to take it away too soon. Because if he removes it before it's time, you'll miss the lesson. You'll miss the growth. You'll miss the blessing that was hidden inside it. Your pain is like a trainer in the gym. It's resistance that builds your strength. Without it, you'd stay weak. With it, you get stronger, wiser, more prepared for the calling that's waiting on your life. So the next time you feel that pain, don't cry out, God, why me? Instead say, God, thank you for trusting me with this, because he doesn't waste pain. Every scar, every tear, every heartbreak is a tool in his hand. You don't realize it now, but one day you'll look back at the very thing that almost broke you and say, that was the moment I became who I was meant to be. The blessing is not in the absence of pain. The blessing is in understanding that pain is part of the plan. Pain is not where God abandons you. Pain is where he refines you. Pain is where he shows you what you're made of. And more importantly, who's been holding you the whole time? You've been misunderstanding it your whole life. But today I need you to see clearly your pain is not a punishment. Your pain is the proof of his presence. You've been crying out, God, where are you? Why can't I hear you? Why are you silent? And you've convinced yourself that silence means he's not listening. You've convinced yourself that because you don't hear a clear answer, he's abandoned you. But let me wake you up right now. Silence does not mean absence. Just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's gone. Just because you can't hear him doesn't mean he's not working you. Sometimes the teacher is the quietest during the test. You've been misunderstanding the silence. You think God owes you constant confirmation, constant signs, constant reassurance. But what kind of faith would that be? If every single step was marked with flashing lights and loud voices, then there would be no need for trust. God's silence isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's him saying, I already gave you the instruction. Now I want to see if you trust me enough to walk it out. That silence is him seeing if you'll move when you don't have the whole map, if you'll still believe when you don't have all the answers. Think about it. The greatest growth in your life hasn't come when God gave you everything instantly. It came in those seasons when you had to wrestle, when you had to wait, when you had to walk by faith and not by sight. That silence was building you. That silence was teaching you to stand on his word, not on your emotions. Because emotions are loud, but God's truth is steady, even when it's quiet. Let me give it to you straight. Sometimes his silence is a test of your maturity. A child constantly needs to hear from their parent. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. But an adult child doesn't need their parent to speak every second. They know their parents' love. They know their parents' will. They know their parents' character. In the same way, God is saying, you don't always need me to say something new. You already know my voice. You already know my word. Now walk in it. Here's the thing. You've been mistaking silence as inactivity. You've been thinking nothing is happening, but behind the scenes, God is setting things up that you can't see. Just because the seed is underground doesn't mean it's dead. It's growing roots. It's getting ready to break through the soil. The silence is where the unseen work happens. The silence is where God rearranges things, where he protects you from doors you weren't ready for, where he lines up opportunities for the right time. Some of you are frustrated because you keep praying the same prayer and you're hearing nothing back. But maybe the answer isn't new. Maybe the answer is what he already gave you last season. Maybe he's waiting for you to obey the last instruction before he gives you another. Silence doesn't mean he's ignoring you. It might mean he's waiting on you. And I need you to catch this. His silence is often the space where your faith is proven. Anybody can worship when they hear his voice, but can you worship when you don't? Anybody can trust when the answers are clear, but can you trust when it's foggy? Anybody can keep moving when the signs are visible, but can you keep moving when it feels like heaven is quiet? That's real faith. So stop misunderstanding God's silence. It's not rejection, it's refinement. It's not absence, it's alignment. He hasn't left you. He hasn't forgotten you. He's still right there, closer than your next breath. And the silence you're frustrated with today is the very silence that's shaping you for the breakthrough tomorrow. You keep holding back, waiting until everything makes sense before you move. You're sitting there saying, as soon as I understand, I'll obey. As soon as I see the whole picture, then I'll take the step. But that's not how God works. His message has never been, understand first, obey later. His message has always been, obey first, and then you'll understand. That's the problem. You want clarity before commitment. You want the blueprint before you build. But God doesn't give blueprints. He gives instructions. And he's watching to see if you trust him enough to walk in obedience without having all the answers. Let's be real. If you could understand everything before you moved, then where would faith be? If you had all the details laid out, there would be no need for trust. Faith is stepping even when you don't see the staircase. Faith is moving even when the ground looks shaky. Faith is trusting the voice of God when logic tells you to sit still. That's the difference between people who live average lives and people who walk in divine purpose. Their willingness to obey even when they don't fully understand. Look back at the great examples of obedience. Noah built an ark when it had never rained. Imagine how crazy that looked to everyone around him. But he didn't wait for rain clouds before he obeyed. He just started building. Abraham was told to leave his home, his family, his land, and go to a place I will show you. Not a place God described in detail, not a destination with GPS coordinates, just a place I will show you. That's obedience before understanding. And because they moved first, God revealed later. That's what many of us miss. We're so busy trying to figure it out that we never step out. We're so busy analyzing every detail that we paralyze ourselves from moving. And the truth is, sometimes your blessing, your breakthrough, your next level is tied to your willingness to say yes when you don't have all the information. God doesn't need you to know everything. He needs you to trust that he knows everything. Here's the hard truth. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Every time you tell yourself, I'll do it later when it makes sense, when I'm ready, when the timing feels right, you're missing the very moment God designed to elevate you. You keep waiting for understanding, but understanding often comes after obedience, not before. You don't get the miracle until after you step into the water. You don't see the breakthrough until after you move your feet. You don't experience the blessing until after you walk away from what he told you to leave. And here's where it gets real. You're not going to feel ready. You're not going to feel qualified. You're not going to feel comfortable. But that's the point. If you felt ready, it wouldn't require faith. If you felt qualified, you'd think it was you doing it. If you felt comfortable, you'd never need God. Obedience strips away the illusion that you're in control and forces you to lean fully on him. So stop misunderstanding his message. Stop waiting for the explanation before you move. You stop demanding certainty before you obey. God is not asking for your analysis. He's asking for your action. He's not asking you to understand everything. He's asking you to trust that he understands everything. Obey first and the understanding will come. Step out and the provision will meet you on the path. Say yes and watch the doors he opens that you never even knew existed. Your whole life you've been saying, God, show me and I'll trust you. But his message is the opposite. Trust me and I'll show you. You've been chasing the prize your whole life. You've been chasing the money, the recognition, the status, the applause. You've been thinking that when you finally get there, when you finally hold in your hands, then you'll feel fulfilled. But let me tell you the truth. You've been misunderstanding God's message. The blessing has never been in the prize. The blessing is in the process. The real growth, the real transformation, the real reward happens in the journey, not at the destination. See, the problem with chasing only the prize is that it leaves you empty. How many times have you achieved something you thought would change your life, only to wake up the next day and feel the same? That's because the prize is temporary. Money fades. Applause stops. Awards collect dust. But the process, the discipline you built, the perseverance you gained, the character that was shaped in you, that lasts forever. God's message is not, get to the end as fast as you can. His message is, let the process make you into who I called you to be. Think about an athlete. The medal isn't what makes them great. It's the countless hours in the gym, the sweat, the pain, the sacrifice, the early mornings, the late nights. That's the process, and that's where greatness is formed. Without the process, the medal would mean nothing. The same is true for you. The process is where God develops the patience, the humility, the strength you'll need to carry the blessing when it comes. Without the process, the prize will crush you. That's why some people get what they've been praying for, and it destroys them because they skip the process. They wanted the platform without preparation, the success without the struggle, the blessing without the breaking. But God doesn't work like that. He loves you too much to hand you something you're not ready for. So instead, he puts you through the process. And that process, though it hurts you, though it stretches you, though it feels unfair, that process is the true blessing. And let me keep it real. The process is hard. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's lonely. It's exhausting. It will make you want to quit. But it's in that very place where you learn who you really are. You don't learn endurance when everything is easy. You learn it when you want to quit, but keep going anyway. You don't learn faith when every prayer is instantly answered. You learn it when heaven is silent, but you keep believing anyway. You don't learn strength when life is light. You learn it when the weight is heavy and you carry it anyway. That's the process and that's the blessing. So stop despising the process. Stop rushing through it. Stop begging God to fast track you to the prize, because the prize without the process will never satisfy you. The process is the very thing that qualifies you for the blessing. The process is where you develop the gratitude to appreciate it, the wisdom to handle it, the maturity to steward it. The process is God's gift to you. It's his classroom, his training ground, his way of shaping you into the person who can actually walk in purpose. Hear me clearly. If you embrace the process, the prize will take care of itself. If you focus on becoming who God called you to be, you won't even have to chase the prize. The prize will come looking for you. Success will follow you. Opportunities will find you. Blessings will overflow. Not because you ran after them, but because you allowed the process to prepare you for them. You've been misunderstanding God's message your whole life, thinking it was all about the prize. But the truth is, the blessing was never the trophy, the title, or the treasure. The blessing was always in the process that made you who you are today. You've been thinking this whole time that God's message was about making you rich, making you comfortable, making you successful in the eyes of people. You thought it was about cars, houses, money, and recognition. But let me tell you, you've been misunderstanding him your whole life. God's message was never about your status. It was never about your image. It was never about you being famous. His message has always been about one thing: purpose. You weren't put on this earth by accident. You weren't born just to pay bills, chase pleasure, and then die. You were created on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. And until you grab hold of that truth, you'll always feel like something is missing no matter how much you achieve. Purpose is what separates existing from living. Existing is waking up, going to work, collecting a paycheck, and repeating the same cycle until your time runs out. Living is waking up knowing your life is connected to something bigger than you, that every step you take, every breath you breathe, every challenge you face is part of a greater assignment. That's what God has been trying to tell you all along. Not chase stuff, but chase me, chase your calling, chase the reason I put you here. And I get it. You've been taught to believe success equals purpose. But listen, success without purpose is just failure dressed up pretty. You can have millions in the bank and still feel empty. You can have a platform and still feel lost. That's why some of the wealthiest, most celebrated people in the world are still miserable. They confused achievement with assignment. They misunderstood the message. Your purpose isn't always glamorous. It's not always going to get you applause. It's not always going to look like what the world says is valuable. But purpose is powerful because it's eternal. Purpose is what outlives you. Purpose is what impacts generations. Purpose is what makes heaven rejoice when your name is mentioned. And here's the truth: you'll never be satisfied until you step into it. Because purpose is the one thing you were designed for, and nothing else will fit. God's message has always been clear. I'm not trying to give you everything you want. I'm trying to equip you for everything I called you to do. That's why the road has been hard. That's why the pain has been intense. That's why you've had to go through loss, betrayal, rejection, and disappointment. Because every single one of those things was shaping you for your purpose. Every heartbreak was making you more compassionate. Every setback was making you more resilient. Every delay was teaching you patience. Every closed door was redirecting you toward the exact assignment he designed you for. But here's the problem. You've been so focused on comfort, so focused on success, so focused on getting blessed that you missed the bigger picture. You kept asking God to change your situation when all along he was trying to change you. You kept asking him for a miracle when he was trying to make you into one. You kept asking him for the prize when his real gift was the purpose behind it all. So hear me. Your life is not random. Your struggle is not wasted. Your story is not meaningless. Every single thing you've walked through has been God aligning you with your purpose. Stop misunderstanding his silence. Stop misreading your pain. Stop confusing the process. His message is simple. I didn't create you to be successful. I created you to be significant. I didn't create you for comfort. I created you for calling. I didn't create you for fame. I created you for purpose. And when you finally accept that, when you finally shift your heart to pursue purpose over everything else, That's when you'll find peace. That's when you'll feel fulfilled. That's when you'll realize you've been carrying the answer the whole time. God's message has always been about purpose, and purpose will always be greater than the prize. You listen to me. Your whole life, you've been misunderstanding God's message. You thought it was about comfort, but he was building your character. You thought your pain was punishment, but it was proof he was present. You thought his silence meant he was absent, but he was just testing your faith. You thought you had to understand before you obeyed, but obedience was always the key. You thought the blessing was in the prize, but it wasn't the process. And most of all, you thought it was about success when it was always about purpose. Don't miss this. God didn't put you here to live easy. He put you here to live impactful. He didn't call you to chase applause. He called you to chase assignment. He didn't design you for average. He designed you for greatness. And greatness doesn't come from the outside. It comes from surrendering to his message and finally living the way he intended. So here's the challenge. Stop running from the storms. Stop resenting the pain. Stop dotting in the silence. Stop demanding explanations. Stop idolizing the prize and stop chasing comfort. Lean in. Trust him. Walk boldly. Because the second you stop misunderstanding his message is the second your whole life changes. God's message has always been this: you are chosen. You are called. You are built for more. Step into that truth and you'll never be the same again.